Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 12, Episode number 46. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Good to be back with you guys for this Monday show. And Dave, got a matchup tonight, Pittsburgh Steelers, Chicago Bears, Monday Night Football. And let's just hope the Steelers tonight aren't like the rest of Week 9 with all the upsets and all just the wackiness of this weekend. Let's hope Pittsburgh avoids that fate.
Yeah, absolutely. And happy Monday to everybody. And indeed, we just hope that if you believe in percentages of updates and or upsets that happen, throughout a weekend and all like that, here's to all of them getting out of the system. And boy, there were quite a few of them that took place on Sunday there for sure. So look, I mean, this is a Steelers team that's I think right now favored by 7 points. They're playing at home, prime time on Monday night. They're playing in their color rush uniforms. They're playing against a rookie quarterback. What could go wrong?
Nothing. They've never been upset by the Bears before. It's never happened, and I'm sure it'll never happen again. But yeah, the stars are certainly aligning on paper for Pittsburgh to win this one. But doing it on paper and doing it on the field, two different things. We'll talk about Week 9 a little bit later in the show, Dave. I want to start with the Steelers injury report because this game's Monday night. On Friday, we did not have a final injury report that did not come out until Saturday. And so the Saturday injury report, not a whole lot to note there. Luckily, Eric Ebron has been ruled out for the second straight game due to a hamstring injury. Backup offensive lineman, center guard B.J. Finney, questionable with a back, although Minkah Fitzpatrick oddly did not practice at all on Saturday due to a foot injury. He was not given an injury designation, so he will play. Same with Ben, also Chris Boswell with a concussion. He's through protocol. He's passed, and so he will play and kick for the Steelers. So will Cam Hayward with an ankle that's kind of been bugging him, it appears, all season. But Ebron, the one name here who will not play tonight against Chicago.
Yeah, and we will see, obviously, what transpires here in the next several hours. The extra day with B.J. Finney. I don't know how you're feeling about that. Being he ended it as questionable and has not been downgraded since, I'm going to guess that B.J. Finney suits up.
Yeah, and if he does not, then that would open the path, I assume, although I guess there could be an elevation coming today, but Zach Banner may dress for the first time, although he will not replace Finney 1-to-1 in terms of being a backup center guard. You do need 8 offensive linemen active to have the extra roster space, and so we could see Zach Banner get a hat potentially if B.J. Finney does not play.
Right. Are we? Where are you on elevations right now? You wouldn't think that this team would have to make any. I mean, obviously you could have Haig play guard if Finney, if something happened, I guess, along those lines there. And then, J.C. Hassenauer obviously dressing would probably be your first option there overall. So, long story short, are you expecting any elevations?
I'm not. Although I will say, I know Haig has played guard in the past. I don't know if he's done it in Pittsburgh. And I don't know. I mean, maybe he's repped it at practice this week. I mean, I don't know, but I know in camp in the preseason he did not work at guard at all, and so I know he's done it in the past. But to kind of throw him in there, out of the blue would be tough to do. So, is there a chance they could elevate? Let's say John LeGlue. That's possible. Obviously, if Finney plays, that becomes moot. But that's probably the one thing to note tonight.
Right, and I think the elevations have to be made, I don't know, couple 3 hours from now from time. I think, what is it, 3 Eastern time on game day on Monday? I believe it is. It's obviously several hours before the game takes place. I want to say it's 3 or 4 Eastern time, so it won't be too terribly long before we'll get our answer on that. But the rest of the inactives, I think, will be pretty easy, right? Eric Ebron ruled out, barring them moving him to IR later on today, which I don't think will happen there. So it'll be Ebron, Haskins. It will be, I think, Kilo Witherspoon will be another one. Buddy Johnson. That's 4 right there, right? So your fifth one there, assuming no elevations are made, would either be Banner or B.J. Finney, assuming nothing from the outside's done there.
Right, so we'll see that a little bit later. Today with the Bears, they have more serious injury issues. They're missing some key players, headlined by no Khalil Mack, who will miss his second straight game. I believe that is it a foot injury with Mack?
I think it was, right? Yeah.
Okay. Foot injury with Khalil Mack, and then safety Eddie Jackson doubtful in this game. So not officially ruled out, but certainly on the wrong side of the injury report. That would be a big loss for Chicago. He's a really good player, probably their best guy in the secondary. So not having Mack and Eddie Jackson, two key pieces missing, presumably, tonight for Chicago.
Absolutely, and obviously know for sure Mack's going to be out because he is ruled out. And with
Right.
I haven't seen Eddie Jackson get upgraded or anything along those lines. Now they will, I think, get someone back in the form of David Montgomery, a guy that they started opening the practice window this past week. I thought because opening a window this week, there's no way in God's green earth that he'd be ready to go by Monday night. But to hear Matt Nagy talk the other day, there is indeed a good chance that David Montgomery will be activated to the 53-man roster sometime before that Monday deadline. And if indeed he is activated from IR to the 53-man roster, I think you can expect him to dress and play against the Steelers there. Now, will he be the every down back? Probably not, but heck, I didn't even think he'd even play in this game.
Right.
And they, to hear Matt Nagy talk, they kind of plan on him being the bell cow back. But I tell you what, I think that'd be a little bit of a disservice to them overall because I think Khalil Herbert has done a fine job these last several weeks. But more than anything, if they do get Montgomery back, it'll give them a nice 1-2 punch and don't have to run those backs into the ground there. And definitely something else for the Steelers to think about when you have a bigger kind of more power back, I guess, in there and a guy like David Montgomery. So I would expect him to dress and play.
Yeah, good point there. I was surprised by it as well. But that run game for Chicago, underrated. It's done pretty well for them this year. Yeah, Herbert's done a good job. He's played well for them. He'd become the bell cow with Montgomery out. So I think at the very least there'll be some sort of splitting of snaps there between Montgomery and Herbert because Montgomery just coming back may not be 100% conditioning, ready to be the every down kind of guy. So yeah, that's something. Maybe the biggest thing to watch today is that Bears run game, very similar in the way that it was for the Browns last week. Dave, before we talk about week 9 and kind of get into this Bears game a little bit more, we'll talk about a report that popped up on Sunday. They love holding these stories till Sunday morning for that news cycle.
It's amazing. It's a miracle.
Yeah, it really is. That and the Melvin Ingram groin injury healing, both miracles. But Sunday morning, CBS's Jason Luckenforer, I know he's not exactly a favorite of Steelers Nation, and I totally get that, but he reported the Steelers were in trade talks at the trade deadline on Tuesday with Eagles defensive tackle Fletcher Cox, an organization. Ultimately, a trade did not materialize. The Eagles apparently wanted at least a third-round pick. Pittsburgh not willing to give that up, but that's the report there. We know that NFL Network reported the Steelers were looking for defensive line help at the deadline. That was as specific as it got. And now, according to Luckenforer, it was at least Fletcher Cox the Steelers were potentially targeting.
Yeah, as I put out on Twitter the other day there when there were kind of winds, I guess, sort of blowing and Javon Hargrave's name entered the picture because of some googly eyes that he posted on Twitter that ended up being him evidently subtweeting something else totally unrelated. He was wondering why in the heck his Twitter feed was blowing up at that time, but it didn't make a lot of sense for when talking about Javon Hargrave for them to deal. I mean, someone had to be tested for using in the office if they had dealt him in that contract that he's on right now, especially the way that he's playing now. Now Fletcher Cox was a different story, and I think we even didn't we mention this on the other show because of the way his contract was set up and as many times with it being restructured, right now he has had ahead of the trade deadline a minimum base salary, I think, of $1.075 million. So the Steelers could have easily taken on that contract, at least in the 2021 year, and then the future years all have option-related dates and all to them, and things gets a lot more complicated with Cox past 2021. But the plausibility aspect of it, just in this season alone, when it came to taking on a guy and his salary in Fletcher Cox, the Steelers could have done it. But the thing is for the Eagles to have to eat the dead money that would have been associated with trading away a guy like Cox, they would have had to get something nice in return, and at a minimum a third. And you're probably, if they had their judders, I don't know, a third and a fifth or something like that, because they would have had to eat a lot of dead money on that. And on the flip of things, they went into this into Sunday with still in the thick of things, right? So, I mean, you really got to make it worth your while to kind of trade away a player while you're still in the hunt of things, and especially an impactful defensive player like Fletcher Cox. So, I guess I'm not surprised that teams were sniffing around, because I think Jay Glazer had reported as much the other day. But I'm also not shocked in the same breath that the Eagles didn't wind up finding someone to trade for a half a season for Cox, and because only they probably couldn't get what they wanted in return.
Yeah. Now, was he still under contract beyond this year, right? Or
yeah, he was.
Like
but there's option. There's option dates and all, I believe, tied to that. There's a whole 25-minute, because his contract's so complicated, there's a whole 25-minute video on YouTube by Over the Cap related to the things related, to Cox's latest restructure, because it is so complicated.
Okay. All right. Well, in a sense, maybe I'm glad it didn't happen, because I would have taken a lot to wade through. I know you would have been able to handle that well, though. But yeah, it was interesting. Cox has not played his best this year, not to where he's been in the past. I know Harger's been kind of the key interior guy there, but still would have been an upgrade for Pittsburgh. I mean, I'm guessing he would have played over Wormley. I mean, I don't think he's playing traditional nose tackle in the Steelers system.
I would guess that they would try to maybe fit him over the nose, to be quite honest with you.
Really?
That was my initial thought of it, but who knows? He has played up mostly kind of that 3-tech, I think.
Right. That 4-3 kind of traditional gap shooting. Well, maybe not gap shooting, but that 3-tech and a 4-3. So, I mean, obviously Pittsburgh's scheme has evolved, and it's more aggressive and more gap shooty than it has been in years past. But I'm just trying to figure out exactly what the fit would have been, and if that would have been more of the Bugs replacement, or would have that kicked Wormley to really good rotational depth. I'm not quite sure. Luckenfor's report did indicate the Steelers still remain hopeful that Stephon Tuitt returns this season, but the mere fact they were interested in trading for Fletcher Cox might indicate that it's just kind of blind optimism at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this last several weeks here, based on updates or non-updates that Mike Tomlin has provided there. It's a guessing game, I think, right now when it comes to a guy like him. I know a lot of people are already trying to guess what's going to happen past this season, and barring Tuitt just having a change, wanting to go in a different direction in his life and walk away from football that way. I don't see the Steelers doing with him anything with him next year. They don't save a lot of overall cap money by trading him or by cutting him next offseason there. So, and they did restructure his contract, remember, earlier this offseason here. So, once again, barring Stephon Tuitt saying, look, I want to get on with my life's work somewhere else, outside of football, I still suspect Tuitt to be part of this team in 2022. So as far as his health and mental health and everything that goes along the rest of this season, who really knows at this point? I thought we'd be already talking about a window being open with Tuitt by now, but that hasn't happened, and we'll see what happens on the Wednesday coming out of this what is now a short week. And you wouldn't think on a short week you'd be able to get anything done with him, but I guess stranger things have happened there. But it's just wait and see, and it's hard to even speculate with Tuitt at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have to put at least, at the start of each week, put at least 3 weeks to the earliest potential return, and that would require Tuitt coming back, that week of practice. So this Wednesday, and there's no indication of that. It certainly could happen, but again, no indication of that right now. So the earliest he could return would be maybe week 12, and it's probably not going to be that. So you're really getting into the late portions of the season there for a potential Stephon Tuitt return. Obviously, Pittsburgh did not get Fletcher Cox, and so they will move on there. I will say, though, that whole mantra that Pittsburgh had lived by for the majority, the bulk of Colbert's tenure of not having defensive players acquired over 30 years old, that's gone out the window. Cox about to turn 31. They signed Melvin Ingram. They looked at Ryan Kerrigan. So Pittsburgh kind of just breaking all some other, well, not breaking all, but breaking that particular rule and trying to build up this defense as much as possible.
I don't know, though. When you look at the results of all that, though, maybe you want to go back to adherence.
There's a reason for that rule in the first place. Yeah.
Adherent to that rule. I mean, look. I mean, Melvin Ingram, who knew?
He was a good player. That wasn't an issue of talent, obviously.
Right. It wasn't a talent issue with him. It's just one of them things that you maybe communication or whatnot wasn't what way it was supposed to be there. And, Fletcher Cox, I think last I looked, was still playing okay. So he would have been, you would think an okay addition. Melvin Ingram, by the way, I think played 28, 29 snaps for the Chiefs yesterday in their game against the Packers. So I think that groin's healed, man.
He's wearing that number 24. We got to stop this madness. I mean, 8 was weird enough. 24 for an edge rusher, man. I can't get on board with that.
And you can't. I mean, if you got to do that, at least let these guys wear the 0 and 00.
Right. Yeah. Bring back the old 0 Clement. Like, why is that? Why 0? Oh, they can't wear 0. They can wear 24.
Oh, it's so taboo. Yeah. I don't know. But that was a little bit interesting to get used to in that game yesterday for the Chiefs there. So wish him well and all like that. And I guess the only other thing that kind of stick out maybe about former Steelers players, James Conner went off. I mean, really, really had a good game. I will be shocked if he's not NFC Offensive Player of the week. 3 touchdowns and well over 100 total yards from scrimmage for James Conner. Boy, Steeler fans get upset on a lot of them get upset on Twitter whenever I post anything positive about James Conner. They all take it, or most of them seem to take it as some sort of a slight against Najee Harris, I guess. But James Conner, I don't know how anybody can't root for that kid right now. It's not his fault he's out of Pittsburgh right now. They chose to go a different direction, and he landed in Arizona, and so far he's stayed healthy, and he's having a good season for them. So, I don't see how you can't root for something like that. But he did have a good game. Quincy Roche, that's got everybody's blood kind of boiling yesterday afternoon as he had the end of the game sack there against the Raiders to strip the football to ensure victory for the Giants. So that's going to be probably a big talking point throughout the day here as well too. And what else was there with former Steelers yesterday? Seemed like
I think that was the big one. How did Jordan Berry punt against the Ravens? I think he did okay, it seemed like. But
I think okay there, and I don't think Bud Dupree's making any kind of impact. And I think our buddy Nick Corte kind of had an update on the Twitter machine yesterday. People need to start hoping that Bud Dupree starts playing some snaps here, I think, overall, because it sounds like if he doesn't get busy playing some snaps, there's that third-round compensatory pick might bump down a round or two there. So I didn't even look at how many snaps Bud Dupree played yesterday for the Titans, who, by the way, boy, they for a team without their best offensive player in Derrick Henry, they sure did what they needed to do yesterday last night against the Rams there. Let's see. Bud Dupree, he played
60%. So that number did come up, I guess, in the second half of that game, thankfully. So he's sitting 60% for the season, according to Corte, basically. So Corte's saying if it's 50% or above, it'll be a third-round comp pick. If it's 50% snaps for the season or 49%, I guess I should say, and below, it'll be a fourth-round comp pick. So he's sitting at 60%. So he's closer than I thought it would be, but he's on the right side of things right now for Pittsburgh.
Right. So keep rooting that he gets his snaps over there.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, with James Conner, how can you not be excited for the guy? I mean, I'm not holding a grudge or anything like that. It was the best thing for both sides for the Steelers and Conner to depart, and the Steelers have a good back in Harris, and Conner's doing well for Zona, and it looks like Conner might be the lead guy for the next couple of weeks. Chase Edmonds has a high ankle sprain, reportedly, and so Conner's probably going to be the guy for the next several weeks.
All right, how did we get down this rabbit hole?
How do we get down any rabbit hole? I don't know. But, Dave, let's talk about tonight's game here against the Chicago Bears. Again, don't want to assume anything, especially once you see what happens in Week 9 with the Falcons beating the Saints and the Jaguars beating the Bills and all the upsets that occurred this week and all the close games here, and certainly Pittsburgh's history against Chicago. Mike Tomlin's never beaten the Bears before, so you don't want to take anything for granted. Let's start, though, with talking about this Bears offense. Of course, starting a rookie quarterback in Justin Fields, a rookie running back in Khalil Herbert, although, again, Montgomery probably plays and they rotate in to some degree. When you think about attacking and stopping this Bears offense, what's the first thing you think of?
Stopping the run.
very similar to last week. It's a similar scheme, the zone scheme that the Bears like to run, and that's where I think it starts for Pittsburgh.
Absolutely, and they have been quite impressive, and especially I think in that game against the 49ers, and they did a good job of still making sure, having discipline to kind of stick with that run throughout the thing. On top of it, a lot of push at times. They do a good job with inside zones and outside zones. I think overall, most notably the inside zone, they'll run a lot of things kind of familiar to what we've seen as Steeler fans with sort of that split zone stuff and the tight end coming across. So of course run the traditional old school counter stuff and run the power. But overall, just impressive. Even behind in games. How they are able to run the football. They do something that's kind of rare. They produce explosive plays, and a lot of them of more than 10 yards or more. I think if you look at their first several games here of the total amount of runs that they have for that length as well too. So that's key number one, especially going against a rookie quarterback that's not having the best season so far. Dropping back and staying in the pocket and completion percentage down the field, and most notably more than 20 yards down the field. I think Justin Fields has like 6 completions of more than 20 air yards down the field here. So they want to come out, I think, and establish that running game and take a lot of the pressure off of Justin Fields. And the way to do that is to hand the ball off to guys like Herbert and we assume David Montgomery tonight. So the Steelers most definitely have got to concentrate on stopping those running backs first and foremost. They obviously haven't done a lot of design runs with Fields yet. I'm not so sure that tonight's not the night that they might try some of that. Because why wouldn't you? Especially if you run some play action. I think some good boots or some read options off of that might be something that gives something to Steelers, something else to think about in this game early. But as you just highlighted there and set me up for, got to stop that running game first and foremost.
Yeah, in terms of the pass game, it's a heavy play action team. They are booting more often. I haven't seen a lot of design runs, but Fields certainly can create on his own. Had 100-plus yards against the 49ers in that close game last week, and most of that was him scrambling. That crazy fourth down play that he had. I think he had a touchdown on that play, running right to his left and making it happen. So you got to watch out for that. Quarterback containment, having a good pass rush kind of structure and gap integrity, lane integrity, I should say. That's going to be, I think, really paramount against a quarterback who is not an elite runner the way that Lamar and Murray and those guys are, but certainly a very good one and someone who could absolutely beat you with his legs. In terms of the deep pass game, Mooney's going to be the guy to watch. That receiver they have, he's got a groin issue, so I don't know for sure if he's going to play or be 100%, but Mooney's going to be the big guy to watch in that big play pass game. But the Bears overall, they run a lot of double moves. They run a lot of kind of divide routes and post wheels and things like that. So these quarterbacks have to be really disciplined, understand circumstance and personnel and tendencies and things like that. I am worried about a James Pierre, for example, on a third down or some aggressive corner play by
ain't gonna run no daggum 5 yards.
Yeah, Keith Butler's got to be in this set because they're going to be max protect a lot. They're going to be in some heavy personnel, and no daggum 5-yard out coming on those. And so watch out for the double move today. I think that's something the Bears are going to try to hit a big play on.
Absolutely, you got to put this game in the hands of Justin Fields throughout. From the start, you got to keep this offense of theirs behind the chains. Make him make plays on third downs, third down and 6 or more type situations, and make that offense go 11 and 12 yards or more on possessions in order to score. Let them have one up over the top of their head for an easy touchdown or not even a touchdown, a double explosive or a triple explosive play. Obviously short fields are going to be a huge friend of the Bears offense potentially in this game. And you just can't let a guy like Mooney get loose. And look, even though Allen Robinson for them has not had a great season overall, this is a guy that, you look back at what he was coming out of college there. He was a guy that can catch short and run long on you. And they obviously haven't had a good, much success in doing that with him. But this was a guy that, coming in to these last couple of seasons, prior to him not having a good season, was considered probably one of the, I don't know, top 20, 25 wide receivers in the NFL overall. So let's not forget about him, even though, and Marquis Goodwin is a guy that I always thought should have been in a Steelers uniform at some point, because you want to talk about guys that can crap you, that guy can run right past you there as well. So they do have a couple of burners that can stretch the field on you, but in the meantime, don't forget about these short slants to some of these, or quick slants to some of these guys, most notably Allen Robinson, who can make you pay after the catch.
Yeah, Goodwin, literal Olympian speed that guy has, and him and Mooney. They haven't hit as many big plays as I thought they might, but they certainly are capable of it, and so that's always something to be aware of. How about
they should have an Olympic event? You had the 400 meters and all like that. You should have the oh crap event when it comes to that, because you know how speed, it kills, right?
Yep. No defense for speed, and the Steelers secondary does not have the fastest cornerbacks in the world, so that's a concern there. But as I was mentioning, Jesse James, captain tonight for them. Jesse James, 6 catches, a touchdown. His last 2 weeks, Justin Fields talked about some of the chemistry that they built up in camp, because Fields was the backup running behind Andy Dalton. James was running with the twos, and so they worked together a lot this summer. He's not the starter. James isn't. Cole Kmet's the number one guy there, but James has made an impact for them off their play action game. Had a touchdown last week. So, I'm sure he wants to kind of play well against his old team. So that's, again, coming back home too, Jesse James. I'm sure there'll be some James family members in the stands tonight for this one. So watch out for him. I think he's wearing 18 now, I want to say, for the Bears, a weird number. So watch out for him.
They like to use a couple of tight end sets at times. Look, this is an offense that shares some similarities with the Steelers. They started to run the football a little bit here. They still have problems, scoring at times. But these are two teams in the Steelers and the Bears that I think are going to come out and say, here's the run, try to stop it, and two offenses that are probably going to be predicated on whether or not they can get short fields at some aspect of the game.
Yeah, I agree. Flipping over to the Bears defense, again, missing some of their big, marquee pieces, and Khalil Mack, and likely to be without Eddie Jackson, but still, good defense overall. They're a hybrid front up front, and they still have some playmakers. To me, the number one guy individually to watch out for is Roquan Smith, number 58, one of the better off-ball linebackers in football. I think they're going to blitz him a little bit more, especially with Khalil Mack being out, and so accounting for 58 overall. I think if you don't do that, he'll wreck this game.
The best way you deal with 58, in my opinion, is run right at 58 and try to get those offensive linemen to the second level. Make Roquan Smith spend most of his evening trying to avoid the trash, if you will, and make plays that way. He is a guy that works downhill extremely well, I believe. He does have some sideline to sideline aspects to him, but he can also blitz. They're not afraid to send him, and he can get home in a hurry on top of that. So him and Robert Quinn need the attention in this one, because Quinn, even with Khalil Mack out, we saw the way the Steelers decided or looked like they decided how they were going to handle Myles Garrett last week, and overall they didn't give a lot of help to either side over there. So you wouldn't think that they would spend a lot of time or dedicating a lot of personnel to helping out in a game. Obviously no Khalil Mack in this one, but you just can't allow Robert Quinn to tee off on you either, and because this is a kind of a similar pass rusher, predicated, I think, still on speed for the most part. They can beat tackles around the corner there, and you don't want this guy backsiding your quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger for sure. So Quinn and Roquan Smith, absolutely two guys that need most of the attention, if not all the attention, Monday night.
Yeah, the Bears have 21 sacks as a team defense this year. Now, 6 of them come from Khalil Mack, but I mean, it's still, they're getting it from Quinn. They're getting it from other guys. Gibson, one of their backup rotational linemen that Eric talked about last week. So have to watch out for that. In the run game, I think just play a straight up downhill run game with combo blocks and duo blocks, double teams, and just kind of a man block scheme, base block. I wouldn't run a lot of zone. I wouldn't even run a lot of gap and power, just kind of downhill, physical. And I think with the way Pittsburgh's O-line's improving, and especially the way they kind of got going last week against the Browns, I think you can kind of really succeed with that just straight up downhill run style.
just strap them up like they did last week against the Browns, because once again, you go back and you look at that tape from any angle, those linemen were running downhill, it felt like. And this is a defense, I think, that in the Bears that you can break that will a little bit early, and especially if you get them in a late game situation where some of those defensive backs might not have the will to tackle a Najee Harris. Look, here's the thing with them as well too. I think it's somewhere around 56% against running backs success rate. Against running backs alone, so they can be run on in this Bears defense, and they have given up. I think the fourth or fifth most amount of 10-yard runs or more so far this season as well too. Now look, Najee Harris is probably not going to run. And maybe I'll jinx myself here. He's not gonna have a 60-yard run in this game, but as we saw at Alabama, one of the things that stick out, Najee Harris was not an explosive back, not a lot of high percentage of 20-yard runs or more, but he did have his fair share of 10 or more yard runs, that stacked up with the rest of the draft class there at that position. Last I looked, 10 yards would get you a first down and move the chains, normally, unless you're behind the chains, so because of a penalty there. So, I would say here it is. We obviously know that this Steelers offense can't get into any situation where Ben Roethlisberger has to throw the football, 40 or more times or drop back at least 40 more times in a game. So establish that running game early, and I'm with you. Just strap them up and try to blow them off the ball and go that way. And you don't have to worry about a guy like Khalil Mack maybe wrecking you on one side over there, so that plays in your favor as well too. Don't get too cute in these situations. We saw the Browns are a perfect example of this. Even though the Browns went on to win and beat the Bengals yesterday, get into that goal line situation and try some of that. Wide receiver, a jet wide receiver, and then an option off of that, and you turn around, you lost 6 yards in that. Go forward. Don't, no reason for Matt Canada to get real cute overall in this, other than maybe adding some new wrinkles to some motion to get kind of those linebackers moving, right? Maybe a different way.
I will quote a famous Pittsburgh Yinzer who came on scene last week. Just pick him up and put him down. That's gotta
you
be.
You forgot the last part of that.
Oh yeah, well, I'm going to censor myself here for the children of my own innocent ears. I have to cover myself here, but just a downhill run game for sure. I'll say this though, Dave. I don't know if Najee Harris will have a 60-yard rush today. Probably not, but I will say. He will have his longest rush of the season.
All right.
His longest rush so far is 20 yards. I think he goes over 20 yards tonight for one occasion here against the Bears.
Over or under 30 yards for his longest run? Or 29. Over or under 29 for his longest run against the Bears Monday night?
You know what? It's a Monday. We'll party. I'll say over. I'll say he gets 30-something tonight.
I'll say under. If he does get one of those, though, odds are good that he's probably had some other 10 or 12-yard runs in this game as well too, and that obviously will bode well, or you would think would bode well for the Steelers. But look, I mean, you went into this season saying we have to improve the running game. We have to be more physical. We have to have the attitude. Yada yada. We have to draft a running back in the first round. These are the games right here that are the main reason why you did that. These are the games on Monday night against a team like the Bears where you should see the fruits of your labor, or that you've seen already in these last couple weeks here. So if you cannot run on a team like the Bears on Monday night, it makes you kind of wonder where, if all that we've seen these last couple weeks, what has it produced really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you need to see it continue and be consistent. And there's going to be ebbs and flows. It's never going to be always perfect every single week, but certainly should have success, anticipate success against the Bears tonight. I will say, last point with the run game, I thought Tom Mee did a tremendous job breaking down kind of the package of plays they had in there for Anthony McFarland, who did not do much, just one carry for 1 yard in his 2021 debut, but they ran a lot of play action off of that. They ran some rollouts off of that, some boots and things like that. So we'll see if there's any additional wrinkles for the quote-unquote McFarland package tonight.
I would like to see, you go back and the way Canada used him a couple of times there at Maryland when McFarland was a freshman, and some of that motion out of the backfield toward the sideline. I think you can do some stuff with that. Obviously, there's that great will play that I'm still waiting for. I think it was against Boston. I think it was against Boston. Was it against BC or no? Yeah, I think it was against Boston College, if memory serves me. But waiting to see McFarland on the wheel. I think you could see something tricky with that. Look, the more they have this kid back now. He's got his feet wet in that game last week. It's time to start using him a little bit more. And I think one of the ways you can do that is putting him in motion at the snap of the football. Will we see some pony backfield? Probably not. But now would be the time to kind of experiment with that as well too. If you get him in a heavy type situation, put McFarland in the backfield, put Najee Harris and line him out. Get him on somebody. So use your running backs in all different ways, shape, or form in this game, and I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, you know what? I think we could see some pony because they ran it so much in training camp. It'd be a shame if they didn't run it at all. They wasted a lot of reps then in camp to not run it. Now, I understand McFarland's been hurt. He just got back last week, so maybe you weren't 100% sure if he was going to play or what his role was going to be, and so you didn't want to put that pony stuff in right away. But after a week and an extra day to kind of sit on these things, maybe you do see two or three snaps of pony tonight. I wouldn't be shocked by it.
Would you prefer to see both of them in the backfield at the snap, or would you like to see one of them split out wide to get you kind of with could you do some 22?
Yeah, you know what? I'll say yes to your question. I think with pony you get super creative. You don't do it just one way. You have different looks and different motions and build a bunch of stuff off of it. So I don't think you just line it up one certain way. I think usually in camp there was Harris in the backfield, McFarland. As the motion man coming across. It's kind of normally how they ran it. But I think there's a couple different ways you could dress this stuff up.
All right, here's a fun over-under for you. Over-under 1.5 snaps for 22 personnel for the Steelers. And no, Derek Watt, we're not going to count him as part. We'll throw out any 22 combination with Derek Watt.
So you're saying it has to be pony, 2 running backs, 2 legit running backs, and 2 legit tight ends?
Correct. 1.5 snaps, over, under.
I'll say under. I think if you get pony, it might come out of 21 personnel with 2 receivers, 1 tight end, and 2 running backs.
Will we see any 22 then? Even with and victory formations do not count.
Okay. Technicality. So any 22, does this include Derek Watt?
Yes,
or not?
yes.
Okay. Maybe for a snap, I think it's kind of circumstantial based on goal line, short yardage. It's kind of dependent on usually like how the game unfolds. All
right. I'd like to see some of that 22 with McFarland and Najee and Freiermuth and Gentry. I think you could get 2 good snaps out of that.
I think we could see some actual just pony, just 2 running backs, 2 legit running backs on the field tonight for maybe 2-3 snaps. I think it is a possibility. With the Bears in the secondary, their coverage, they're more of a zone type team. They don't blitz a lot. They let the front 4 and front 5 kind of get home most of the time. I think they do a nice job disguising their coverages. I think they're a tough team. They get a good tendency and feel for. They do a good job with their tendency breakers. I mean, they'll run across with motion, and it looks like it's going to be man coverage and end up playing zone behind it. So I think Ben's got to really be on his P's and Q's tonight because that Bears defense, while not an elite group, obviously, they do a nice job disguising and kind of trying to hide some of the stuff they're working on.
Yeah, you hate to think that you're throwing into a zone window and throw right into a man coverage, right?
Exactly.
In those situations, if you can identify true zone, I think you set yourself up for some nice little curl routes, settling type routes for one Pat Freiermuth in this one. So I think you could see a lot of 6-yard passes with a guy like Freiermuth showing you his numbers and that big catch radius and those kind of things there. So I think that's a way to move the football. Now, explosive plays. We have got to start seeing this offense produce more explosive plays overall. They have a kid on that other side of the football for the Bears. I don't know how much you studied him, and Kendall Vildor. That kid's been, roasted. A couple of times so far this season. Teams have done a good job of attacking him overall, and if he's not going to I don't know what they're going to do if they don't have Eddie Jackson back there as a free safety. I assume, I don't know who, Marquis Christian, that would be the guy, I guess, who would take over for them. Because of that, I think you might see the Bears play a lot of two deep in this, right?
Yeah, and probably some more safer conservative zone. I mean, it's a fairly young group. There's some talent there. I think, yeah, Builder's in his second year, and Jalen Johnson's a relatively young guy. I want to say, right? Yeah, he's in his second year too, I think. So, some young guys to maybe really attack. But yeah, I think working zone coverage, finding the soft spot, and maybe doing a little bit more underneath stuff tonight, which has been the Steelers' MO a lot this season anyway. But that might be the ticket tonight. But could you hit a big play over the top against a pretty young and hurting secondary? That's certainly possible.
Boy, if they show you some cover one man at all in this, especially I would go after that Kendall Vildor with either Chase Claypool, Deontay, one of those two. I think you could get one of those guys, especially Deontay. I think you could get him to bite on a double move or something like that. I think, in other words, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 60-yard, one of those 60-yard touchdowns to Deontay in this one, especially. Look, and here's the thing: if they're scared on the defensive side of football and they want to play too deep in this, oh boy, that plays right into the Steelers' hands with attempting to run the football, right?
Right. Yeah, run against too high for sure. And so that may be how Pittsburgh comes out of it. They're getting a lot of too high, especially on those RPOs. If you're getting too high, the box count's probably pretty favorable to run the football, and Ben should hand the football off most of the time.
Yeah, and I want to make these, the RPO aspect obviously isn't going away. So if you get the numbers on the edge, a couple of those quick RPO wide receiver screens, assuming people don't block too early, is it me, or does it seem like the Steelers right now are the only ones that are called for guys blocking on? I saw the Packers yesterday. There were a couple instances in that game, just in that one and the Rams game on the Rams side of football, where I thought, how in the hell are they not calling these offensive linemen for being passive line of scrimmage, and B, some of these wide receivers blocking too early, like we've seen the Steelers called a couple of times in both those situations there. So, long story short, I mean, if you get the look and you get the numbers on the outside there, I would expect, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 quick wide receiver screens in this game, and see if you can get a guy like, let's say, Deontay Johnson in that one-on-one situation where all he has is the one guy to beat there. Because I want to see if these outside corners can tackle.
Yeah, and or just cover Deontay too. One of the better separators and route runners in football, I would say, right now. So yeah, I'm with you. I think certainly this Bears defense, especially with it missing some of its best guys, again, there's still some talent there, but Pittsburgh needs and should be able to take advantage of them.
You would think so. I mean, and down the field at that. Now, I don't expect Ben to throw down 20-yard, have 10 passes of more than 20 yards down the field here. I think you'll see probably 5 or 6 of them. But boy, if you could hit on 50% of them in this game, that could potentially be the difference in this game easily, and especially if you're not giving up the big plays on the other side there.
And if Steelers fans were wondering, as Eric said on Friday, Artie Burns has not played a defensive snap for them this season, so don't expect to see Artie Burns out there defensively, maybe on special teams, but not defensively tonight.
Okay.
Last thing to note there for the Bears overall, two things quickly. A, watch out for any sort of trickery. I think that's going to be the mantra this week and next week against Detroit. The double pass, the fake field goal, fake punt, whatever, just some team on the road, underdogs, Monday Night Football trying to gain an edge. And then watch out for Jakeem Grant in the return game. To me, one of the most electric return guys in football right now. Does kicks and punts for them. Does it really well. And so they traded for him to be basically a return guy from Miami. He was, I don't watch many highlights of guys too often, but Jakeem Grant's a guy I watch his highlights of just because he's so much fun to watch. I love him coming out of Texas Tech, and so you got to contain that guy and probably kick away from that guy as much as possible.
When you look back, and the Steelers obviously have had bad losses over the years against teams that they should are heavily favored in. I think right now this one's right at 7 points. So I would in today's NFL, 7 or more points being favored is probably considered heavily favored there. the silly penalties, the turnovers in your own end. Though that's the way that you end up on the bad side of these type games here. So, for all the warts that the Steelers team has had in their first 7 games of the season, they are the more superior team, I think, easily on paper right now going into this game. So, just don't do the things that get you losses in games, against inferior opponents on this one, and you should be fine even if you win the game by 1 point or 21 points.
Yeah, but last time Pittsburgh played Chicago, they were heavily favored and ended up losing that game. So you never know what could happen. And penalties have been a real issue for this team, and they've been masked by the winning streak, the last 3 wins. But the penalties have been problematic, and so Mike Tomlin's talked about it every single week. It's not been cleaned up, and if this continues, it's going to hurt them one of these games, and hopefully it does stop and end and gets cleaned up. But if not, it's going to come back to bite them soon enough.
A punt is not a bad play in this game for the Steelers.
Yeah, you're saying that in the sense of, don't take the turnover, don't have something dumb that really changes the game.
Right. I mean, it's okay to have maybe some futility at times on offense here. Just don't turn the football over and don't let that Bears offense run on a short field. If you got to go 3 and out, just punt the football away, flip the field, and put your defense out there. And once again, you got to put this all on Fields. Whether it be with his legs or his arms, he's got to beat you that way, and not because they have a short, turnover and get 2 field goals or a field goal and a touchdown that way to keep this thing close. They want to be in a situation, obviously, the Bears, where you go into the fourth quarter and it's anybody's ball game there. The Steelers, on the other hand, want to be up at least a full possession, and as a result of having a good, strong game of Najee, and then let them have at trying to get Najee down on the ground in that fourth quarter there.
Absolutely. All right, Dave, should we make our picks now? Should we wait? I don't know how to approach this Monday night game. What do you want to do here?
Yeah, look, it's a quick day for everybody, us included. There's not going to be a lot of free time for us. So why don't we go ahead and get our pick out of the way here, and then get to some emails and get this thing up on the Google and the internets.
All right, sounds good. So I'll go first here with my selection. I think this game might be a little bit closer than anticipated, just because that's the Steelers' MO with things. But ultimately, they're at home where they play well. They're going against I don't want to say inferior team, but a team they should beat, a team they match up better on paper against a rookie quarterback. Tomlin's success against rookie quarterbacks is really well known, one of the best records in football. I think Pittsburgh will be able to run the football. I think the pressure they'll be able to generate, Justin Fields sacked more than any other quarterback this season, should mention that, is going to ultimately win out. So I have Pittsburgh winning this one 27-16.
All right, so
you have, I don't know what number I have, 27 to something.
What do you have?
I got to find my video I did yesterday on it to get the Bears score, but I believe it's 27-16. I'll go with.
All right, so you have it's right now. The line right now on mybookie.ag is Steelers -7. So you have the Steelers covering then.
Yes, I do.
And then what do you have the total being on that? Because the over/under on this is 39.5 at mybookie.ag right now.
Let me check the number I had. I had 26-17, I should say. So my dyslexia is coming into play there. 26-17.
All right, so you have the Steelers covering and the over then.
Okay, I guess I do then.
All right, I have the Steelers winning this one, but not covering, 22-16. I got the oddball.
That score got me?
I don't know if that score got me or not. I didn't go that far, but
where do you get 22 from? Is Boswell getting hurt again?
There could be probably going to be a 2-point conversion in this or something. I don't know, or safety or something like that. But I can't get 22 out of my head because I'm looking at. I've been looking at a lot of Najee Harris stuff, I guess, this week and all. So 22-16 Steelers. So that makes it 38. I had the Bears covering and the under. So we haven't surrounded here.
Wow. Let's see. Last 22-16 game was actually last season. Chiefs Broncos 22-16.
All right. Do I get bonus points if I hit this one right on the money?
Yeah, I think you do if you get this one on the money for sure. It looks like the Steelers have won 22-16 game in their life. That was in '86 against the Houston Oilers. The Pittsburgh won in overtime. Remember that one? I do not remember that game.
22-16. That's it. That's my final answer.
All right. Before we get to reading emails, Dave, here just a quick week 9 recap. AFC North getting well. I mean, the Ravens. I thought the Ravens were going to lose that one. That would have made things even more competitive and in a tighter race here. But the Browns blowing out the Bengals. That AFC North. I mean, Baltimore's still the front runner, but this thing's as tight as tight can be.
Absolutely, and I thought for my optimism got the best of me there because I thought for a moment there the Vikings were going to win that game in overtime. They got that kind of that tip pass interception real quick there in overtime, and I'm thinking to myself, oh boy, this sets up really good. Just go down and get the field goal, and for once, don't let the Ravens win one of these games that they probably should lose. Well, after getting that turnover, the Vikings then proceeded to go 3 and out at that point, and then all my optimism then went out the window. Let me ask you this: when it comes to that situation, though, you're in overtime. This is a game that if you're the Vikings, I mean, you got to win this game, right? I mean,
you do, yeah.
You really got to win this game. I mean, on the road type situation, a team coming off a bye, a team that's got the best kicker in the National Football League, and Justin Tucker. You still a possession here. 3rd and 9, pass incomplete at your own 39-yard line with 5:23 left in overtime. Alex, do you go for it on 4th and 9 in that situation? Because
of your own 39, is that where it was at?
Right
because if you don't convert there, the game's over because Justin Tucker's already in range. So I understand punting there.
Right, but if you also punt away the football, you're going to lose. I mean, that's
well, they've gotten a couple stops already, so I think maybe the hope was to do it one more time.
I mean, I understand, I guess, why they punted, but I mean, what is a betting man going to do at that point once they stole the possession, they end up having to punt the football away with 5-something left at that point. And at that point, everybody's going to bet the Ravens going to win this one. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure if I'm on the road in that situation and a must win. I know analytics. I'm a key. Nobody knows the analytics more than I do when it comes to situations like that. But I think factoring in that is the fact that they have a kicker on the other side on the other team that can kick them from 65 yards. So the odds of me getting this football back are slim and none at that point. I'm not so sure if I don't go for it on 4th and 9, I guess. And my heart's that is a results biased hot take right there. That is a results biased AFC North hate the Ravens hot take right there. So take it for what it is.
Yeah, so the Steelers right now technically in second place in the AFC North at 4-3, with the Browns 5-4, the Bengals 5-4, and Baltimore first place, of course, at 6-2. So every single team, as of going into tonight's game, above 500. So it's as competitive can be, and I think it'll go down to the stretch again. I said this since the beginning: Week 17, Week 18, Browns, Ravens back to back. That may shape the entire AFC North, including the Week 18 games for the other teams. The Browns and Bengals meeting each other in the finale. This one could shape who gets what.
Look, I know the Ravens have only lost 2 games, and that's I really needed them to lose that game too.
You still think nine games?
Well, I said 9 to 10. I definitely took a hit by them not losing that one to the Vikings.
So they got to go 4 and.
But man, look at some of these games that they've been in or they've won that they probably shouldn't, and you know what they call almost losing, right?
Yeah, winning.
Right, and that is a huge difference there. But the Lions, I mean, that a doink away from losing to the damn Lions. How the heck, too bad Dennis Green wasn't still alive to see the end of that game against the Colts, right?
Let him off the hook.
Let him off the hook. For sure. And then you fast forward to the game against the Vikings on Sunday in overtime there. I mean, yeah, they should have, those are 3 almost losses. But anyway, they do have a more kind of favorable schedule, I guess you would say, because the Ravens now play the Dolphins and the Bears in the next 2 weeks, and they got a key game against right in a row. They got 5 really, really key games. Actually, boy, the rest of their damn season stacks up pretty damn tough too. Once they get past the Dolphins and the Bears, here's who the Ravens play: the Browns, the Steelers, the Browns, the Packers, the Bengals, the Rams, the Steelers. So I'm not saying, but it sure would have been nice to have that extra L in there against the Vikings to play with there. So, and this is another banged up team. They lost another player to a season-ending injury yesterday as well too. So, you got
a good one, Deshaun Elliott.
Right, Deshaun Elliott. So, as much as, I know everybody listening to this podcast probably hates the Ravens, you got to take your hat off and hand it to them for what they've been able to accomplish with all the injuries that they've had so far this season.
Went through a lot of adversity. What was the biggest upset of Week 9? Was it Denver just dog walking Dallas? Was it the Jags beating the Bills? That's probably the correct answer.
Yeah.
The Jags in a low-scoring game where Lawrence gets hurt, comes back in that one, beating the Bills. The Falcons beating the Saints. The
Giants beating the Raiders was awesome. Look, I think we learned this week though that Josh Allen's own worst enemy is Josh Allen.
Yeah, that was some fun with that one.
My wife, believe it or not, that was so newsworthy that my wife asked me about that this morning. So.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, for her to know anything, especially outside of the Steelers, that she said, "What's up with this Josh Allen stuff?" That's pretty newsworthy, and I've been waiting. I've been sitting on that line. Josh Allen is Josh Allen's own worst enemy. So I appreciate you giving me the platform to deliver that one this morning.
You're in Vegas, so you have your one-act show coming up, I assume, and try the veal and tip your waitress and all that stuff. If you don't know the joke, by the way, I'm sure most people do, but Josh Allen is the Jaguars' defensive end, and Josh Allen's the Bills' quarterback, and Josh Allen sacked and intercepted Josh Allen, and so I go.
Did he recover a Josh Allen fumble too?
He might have. My brain broke after the first time I read Josh Allen sacks Josh Allen, so I'm still recovering from that.
Absolutely. Look, the Bills are still going to be a team to compete with going forward, but 9-6.
Yeah.
To the Jaguars. That who is the best team in the AFC right now?
I don't even know. I think it's still the Bills, but it's going to change every single week. Is it the Titans? Should we give them more credit? Probably should with this job they've done. So I don't know. I don't know if anyone knows right now, and I'm just focused on Pittsburgh trying to hang around the conversation, not getting upset the way these other teams have this weekend.
Boy, NFL's got its wish right now, right? Parity galore, I think. Look at all the teams, at least in the AFC right now, with 500 or better right now, right?
Yeah, how many teams is it? It's a lot that are 500 and better. 2 in the East, all in the North, so that's 6.
It's easier to look at the teams that don't have a 500 record, at least a 500 record. That's the Colts, the Jets, Jacksonville, Miami, and Houston. That's it. Everybody else is over 500 right now.
Wow, so I think 11 of the 16 teams in the AFC are 500 or better. And that's a ridiculous number. So yeah, talk about trying to get a wild card spot potentially if you can't win the North. It's not going to be easy either because there's going to be so many teams competing for those 6 and 7 spots.
Look, God forbid the Steelers lose tonight, but if they do, they will be 4-4. They will be the lone 500 team in the AFC right now, and they would actually be pushed all the way back, I think, to like the 12th seed in the AFC with a loss night. However, with a win at 5-3, I don't know how the whole tiebreakers go here, but I think they could be possibly 4th, I believe. Either 3rd or 4th in the AFC. So, big game for the Steelers tonight, so got to get that W.
Just projecting it out really quickly, what do you think it would take to get a wild card spot? It's got to be 10 wins.
It's got to be 10, right? Yeah.
Yeah, got to be 10. So with the way that the rest of
a guaranteed wild card, I think, at 10. I still think 9 wins could potentially get because look, there's a lot of AFC on AFC action, I think, in division across the board too. I think that's going to happen. That they'll help balance this out a little bit, I would think. But 10 wins, I think, will get you in the playoffs one way or the other. 9 wins, I think, still could get a team in the wild card still.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think 9's going to be really tough to do when you have the whole AFC West at 5 wins. You have the whole AFC North at 4 or 5 wins. Pittsburgh potentially getting their 5th tonight, and the AFC East with 2 teams at 5 wins. So I think 10, and then may even get some tiebreakers from there. But it'll be competitive for sure.
Look, here's the thing. We've talked about this several times since, heading into the game against Cleveland. Things set up really good for the Steelers these 3 games. The Browns, they got the W there, and then you had the Bears and the Lions here. So absolutely got to win the games that you're supposed to win, and Monday night against the Bears is one the Steelers are supposed to win. They better win, and then a game against the Lions the following week with the Lions coming off the bye is a game they should win, and they better win. End of story.
For sure. All right, Dave, good recap of the week and of tonight's game. Let's get to some reader emails and close out today's show.
All right, let's do it here, and we will go with Andreas writes in. This is Andreas, who's written in before from Denmark. So Copenhagen, Denmark on this Monday morning, Alex. He was saying, I was wondering what the contract status is for Taco Charlton going forward. Starting on the practice squad, I guess his contract at that point was almost week to week. But when he was elevated to the 53, is that automatically a year deal, or is he on a longer deal? Thanks for the great podcast. I believe that's so. I believe he's 1 year. Right now when it comes to now that he's on the 53 here. Let me double check real quick on Taco and his contract. I believe I saw it was 1 year on there. Yeah, it is. So he will become an unrestricted, as things sit right now, assuming he makes it to the end of the year, he will be an unrestricted free agent after this season.
Yeah, so that's his status, but good clarification there.
Let us look at what else we have here. Ben Finkler writes in, Dear Dave and Alex and the whole Steelers Depot team, thanks for all you do. Your podcast and site are awesome, and I continue to learn so much from you about the nuances of the game. In my mind, you become a Steelers institution like the terrible towel and Pittsburgh dad. Wow. That's quite a statement there, but we appreciate it. Have you thought about doing a cross-promotional piece with him, with Pittsburgh Dad? My son has grown up with me reading him, reading the winners and losers and stats of the weird articles right after the game, and has become a fun family tradition. Alex, you have become a family tradition here with the winners and losers and stats of the weird, which you obviously, I don't know how you get those, especially the stats of the weird. I don't see how you get some of those things in game. How do you set yourself up for that? I mean, you have those waiting to go, don't you?
Sometimes they do. I do. Yeah. Sometimes it's just StatHead and Pro Football Reference helping me out quite a bit. But hopefully you enjoy tonight. It may not come until very, very late tonight, or maybe tomorrow morning. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but they'll be there, and hopefully we have some good weird to talk about tonight, and hopefully a victory as well.
And hopefully a lot of winners and not many losers this week. He goes on to say, I'm definitely sold on the idea of run success rates as a way to better understand the value of running backs rather than yards per game and total yards. Oh, I'm making a dent in this, Alex. I'm making a dent in this. Carry the flag after I'm dead, all right? You got to continue this on. Thanks to explaining it over the years and advocating for using that as a lens to look at the running game. I wonder if we'll ever see the mainstream analysts listing and talking about that in the box scores and or television screens. Kind of like we talk about basketball players' field goal percentages. I imagine the 3 most important stats, which won't account for the passing game, are run success rate, number of carries, and number of explosive plays. Always, I really appreciate your show and the relationship the two of you have. Kudos and rock. What does this say? Have kudos and rock to the nudge, I guess he says. Ben in Davis, California. Ben, appreciate that. Look, I think whether or not we'll see this more as traditional box score stats, I mean, we haven't seen since really the addition of the sack, right? As an official stat. Some of these things just aren't going to probably become official stats because of the longevity of the league, right?
Perhaps, but we've certainly seen the league be more open to some more advanced stats and things like PFF and grades and analytics. So
and really next gen stats too. I mean, right there on the NFL site. No.
So it's a slow crawl. I think we'll get there someday, but it just takes a long time to change a league that still uses fax machines. It's just a slow process.
Yeah, Ben. Look, I mean, regular fans being kind of an ambassador to this as well too will help in the process by educating other fans. Believe it or not everybody reads SteelersDepot.com or listens to the terrible podcast. Shame on them. But guys like Alex and Josh Carney and some of our younger guys on site that have kind of grown up with this stuff now as well too. Can carry that flag moving forward in there. But look, I don't see how anybody with a straight face can push yards per carry now. I just don't, because it could be even throughout a season, 10, 12 runs can highly skew a number like that. And as I said on a terrible take this past week, I believe the Steelers game against the Browns is a perfect example why run success rates should be used more so than yards per carry. Now, will they fine tune this thing a little bit more moving forward? Man, I think Chase Stewart's done a great job with that. And once again, I use his versus the one that say Football Outsiders used. Either one will probably get you close to the same thing there, but I really think the math that Chase Stewart's put into this right now really should be the standard right now. Now, whether or not it becomes an official stat, look, I'm a firm believer that this RAS, which piece, was really the spark score prior to this. I think there's a lot of weight that needs to be given to that stuff, like that RAS score during the pre-draft process, relative athletic score. I think you can read a lot into prospect and a lot into games and really help get yourself ready previewing games by paying attention more to average depth of target, adjusted net yards per passing attempt, all those kind of things. I love that kind of stuff, and that's we have Clayton now on board, doing a lot of deep statistical stuff with NFL Faster and the R program in particular, and I'm rambling now, but really, really making a lot of advances in that area.
For sure. I just think the improvement needs to be the ease of accessibility. Like, where's the best place people can get the run success rate chart? Is there a site that's providing that for free?
Not really. Yeah.
Right. That's the issue.
And it's very easy for like StatHead to do that kind of stuff, Right. I would think. Now, here's the thing. Some of the advanced stats are the PFR, Pro Football Reference, now has. They can be found. All this has got to be more easily accessible, I believe.
Right. Because if it's hard to get to, then it won't get as accepted nearly as easily. If people just don't see it that much, they can't find it themselves. They have to just occasionally get it told to them by whoever the gatekeepers of that information are. And so that, I think, is because I even have trouble finding that information sometimes. So that's the biggest challenge.
Right. And look, I mean, Clayton can, for our site, anybody with R can get that really kind of at a push of a button. But I'm not up on R, so I even have to do it old school, copy and paste into Excel, and then run the formula that way. And it takes up 20 minutes to do that, and not your average
Most
person.
people don't have the time to do that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't either, but that's what gets me in trouble a lot of times. I go down the rabbit holes, with this. It would be nice at a push of a button to have that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, because it can be done. Like, there can be, any website that tracks this stuff can just have a chart that updates it the way we do for snap counts and receptions and basic stats and stuff. So until there's a bigger push for that, then I think it will be harder for those stats to gain traction.
Right. I kind of envisioned the more I get out of day-to-day operations from Steelers Depot that, maybe we'll make a push into having kind of that stuff database to that, sortable and push of a button kind of that's what I kind of envisioned. So and hopefully if I start doing it, then it'll become more mainstream and easily accessible to any fan base.
Yeah, and if you can create that stuff, then this site's going to get even more popular because they're going to become a one-stop shop for that kind of information.
Yeah, hopefully that's the game plan. But anyway, we appreciate the email there. Here's one more from Let's see, Bryce. I really like the use of RPOs to jumpstart our offense, but I'm wondering. Oh no, we already hit on that the other day, I believe, from RPOs and what the how to build on that moving forward there. So we'll see what the Steelers can do tonight, maybe to build off some RPOs. I think we'll see quite a few of them. But within that, I think we're about an hour here, Alex. So let's get this one done and up on the Google and the internets for people to listen to. You got anything else to add?
Nope, nothing else to add. Just a reminder, we will be back tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, to recap the Bears game, and then we'll have a podcast on Friday as well with a beat writer, hopefully on Friday. So that's the schedule the rest of the week, Tuesday and Friday.
All right, so in the meantime, follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, go to the site, hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button. For $25 for one calendar year, you can have an ad-free version of the site. Alex and I'll be back podcasting again Tuesday morning, hopefully talking about another Steelers win here. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.